Real quick, our beloved councilman and our supporter by providing a meeting space for us here, Mr. Aurelio Mattucci is going to give a synopsis of what's going on in Torrance and on his own information. We really appreciate it.
Say his name. Sorry. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Black Labs Matter. Woof woof.
I serve on the city council here in Torrance, but obviously it's been a little challenging the last few months with Black Lives Matter showing up. I do respect their right to free speech, but I don't respect their right to take away other people's right to free speech. I don't respect the fact that they disrupt the meeting enough to where we have to call it off or have to postpone our meetings because I have a 7-year-old at home. I want to go home to my kid as well, and to be stuck there till midnight because it keeps on getting delayed. I don't think it's fair for also the people that actually come and want to speak on issues and agenda items. Gentleman right there, he's always out there. But having said that, I think time heals everything. I think we're close to the tail end of the investigation, and I'm hoping that puts everything to rest. I do feel for the mother that lost her child. I mean, I don't think as a parent, I don't think anybody wants to lose their children under any circumstances, no matter what he did or how he did it. It's still a grieving mother, so I do respect that. I do think that particular organization is taking advantage of individuals in grief, and that's a shame. And that's a shame because overall, we want to make our community better. And if there are things that we can do as a city or as a department to make things better, that message is really getting diluted, really thin when you start cursing and cussing at us and having to shut down the meeting. That's really a shame for everyone that comes over there to speak on the issues. I don't know if you guys have been following the budget hearing. Torrance, there's a huge shortfall of money. When I say huge, it's between $7 and $9 million short. I keep on saying this, and I said it before even getting elected. It's the little things that add up to a lot, right? And of course, at the last meeting I mentioned it, and everybody's looking at me like if I'm crazy about waste on paper or paper clips, even just paper clips. There's so much waste that happens on the small scale, but it adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly millions of dollars by the time you're done at the year. So there is a shortfall. We're doing what's called a hiring freeze. That's where we're, as a city, that's how we're trying to balance out the budget, is by not hiring open positions right now. Now that's a dangerous proposition. Anybody that does accounting, you're basically balancing the budget with non-existent situations. In other words, those positions eventually have to be filled. So eventually you're gonna have to fill that void with revenue. Where's that revenue gonna come? Now, I'm not one for raising taxes, but they're already talking about possibly raising our sales tax to the maximum allowed by California law, which is 10.5%.
No.
And of course, it makes 9.5% sound a hell lot better, right? And it's still a lot compared to most states. The base California rate is 5%, by the way. Everything else is just tacked on.
Wow.
Stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they said, well, what's a 1%? What's 0.5%? What's a 1/4%? Every time we hear that, we hear like measure age. Well, just a 0.5%. What's a 0.5%? Well, when at the end of the year, when you start adding it up, all the things that you bought at retail, value that you actually paid sales tax on, that all adds up, and it all adds up that money you paid into. That it's out of your pocket. The pocket of your family, that one less thing one less dinner, one less vacation you're gonna take because it's always that, 0.5%, 1/4%, 1%.
So we rounded up.
Huh?
So we rounded up.
Oh yeah, they always round it up, never round it down, right?
Well, also people take their business outside of the city of Torrance.
Well, you know,
Especially sales
the
tax
fortunate part, we're
Yeah.
surrounded by cities at 10.5%.
Yeah. There you go.
So you can't just go
Which is a
and,
reason not to up it.
The only problem with that is if you go to Orange County, and buy your car cheaper.
That's
And
true.
we
Yeah.
got a lot of car dealers.
Yeah, we do, we sure do. And we've lost a few car dealerships. You know, I'm not one to put all my eggs in one basket, but retail sales has been slowing down across the United States. So it's not, you know, and we're not just, it's not just in Torrance, California that's happening. So we've had a slowdown. That's where most of the revenue loss is coming from, is from sales taxes that have gone down. So now, if you think about this, our general budget is about 206 million. So losing between $7 and $9 million, that's a lot of money, accounting wise. It's a lot of money buried, but you know, it's a big void to have to fill. So anyways, these hiring freezes is how we're attempting to balance it out. So we're not per se eliminating anybody, but we're also not hiring anybody.
Actually, if you go to Orange County to buy a car, you gotta have a zip code to be able to get that.
Yeah, they
tax rate.
changed that.
They changed it?
No, I mean, I
Oh, yeah,
changed
yeah,
it to
yeah,
that
yeah,
because
change
people were
it.
doing it.
Yeah, cause I had two zip codes of what, when I lived in Long Beach, and I had a Los Angeles zip code for the mail. So if I would use that zip code, it took 30 days to get my registration.
But anyways, for those of you that live in the South Bay, obviously, you know, South Bay, hey, the South Bay is one big conglomerate of I guess, of an economy. We kind of all feed off of each other. But Torrance is by far the biggest tax revenue. Did you want to ask a question?
Well, about the budget.
Yes.
The retirement plan is the big expense is the retirement. The pension plan.
That's correct.
For city employees.
Yeah, now, I've asked the question, what if the city goes to all new hires with a 401k? Okay, just like everybody else right in the world. And actually, a lot of cities have converted to 401ks. I personally like it, but here's the problem, is the formula that we put together, I think it's 2012, there was a pension reform here. We changed the contribution on new hires in order to pay into more than obviously the old hires and the old retirees. So what happens is without these new hires paying into the system, that formula doesn't work. So going to 401k, it means we would be stuck with a bill that right now our unfunded liabilities are shy of $500 million. That's billion with a B. Now, if we were to get a payoff amount.
Just for the city?
Just for the city, yeah.
Just,
Okay, so, and you know, and that scares me, And granted, you know, we have over $1 billion in assets, okay, so we can never file bankruptcy. That's another question I pose. We can't file bankruptcy because we have too much in assets. We can't just pay it off because the payoff amount pretty much doubles. It's a little over $1 billion, so we would have to write them a check, write CalPERS a check for over $1 billion if we wanted to opt out of that system, period.
Wow.
In other words, you have to fund everything you promised for everybody that's there now and also previously retired. I think eventually with the right group of people, we can figure out a 401k program that works. We can do it, I think eventually we can do it on a small scale with certain departments. You know, we do have a lot of forces that are pushing against us, but the bottom line is you can't pull water out of a dry well, and that well's drying up. And I don't know how the future is going to look because retail sales, I don't see them going up. And if our budget really truly has a $7 to $9 million shortfall, how's it going to look next year? Is it going to be 10 to 15 million the following year?
Right.
30 million? I mean, if we don't do something about our spending, we got a problem long term. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Aurelio, we're gonna have to wrap
it up, okay.
One more question.
I want to mention the lawsuits against the city of Torrance. There are numerous lawsuits against the city of Torrance right now. and supposedly they're being funded by the self-insurance fund.
Yeah, not all of them, yeah, not all of them are
Some
self-insured,
of,
yeah,
I mean, part of it is,
yeah.
but that's also a big drain.
It is a big drain, you know, from what I can see, you know, there's some legitimate ones and a lot of frivolous ones, you know, but that's just the name of the game, you know, we're a pretty big city and we provide a lot of services, you know, like, water, we have our own water, we have, airport, we have our own trash, so you're bound to get, obviously more services, more liability, that's just how it works out.
Okay. Great. Thank
Just
you.
one
That's-
comment.
That was it.
One comment, I'll step down.
One comment?
Yes, just a comment.
Just a comment.
40 years ago, Senator Dirksen said, $1 million here and $1 million there, pretty soon you have real money. Same
Yeah.
thing applies to Torrance.
Yeah,